Colin, tell me about the time that you met Stravinsky.
Well, this was at St Martin's in the Field, and it was in winter time, and I'd seen that an advertisement that there was this Stravinsky concert going to be held there of his music, and it was going to be conducted by his conductor friend, whose name just escapes me. And so a friend and I went along, and quite early, and got a good seat in a pew. And then, to our surprise, Stravinsky and his wife also turned up very early and walked down the centre of the aisle and decided to come into the row of pews right in front of us. And so Stravinsky came in first, and he sat right up against a column which protected him on that side from any sort of under attention, and his big wife, his very beautiful wife, sat on the other side and right immediately in front of us. And my friend, being very sociable, leant over and engaged Stravinsky in conversation, but he immediately turned round to both of us as though he hadn't seen anyone else or spoken to anyone else all day, and was very happy to talk. And I asked him if he was enjoying his visit to London, you know, and he said, yes, very much so. He said, but it's so cold. And he shrugged his coat as though shivering, which I think he was probably. And then we asked him what he was writing, and he told us the ballet that he was, again, the name just escapes me, I'm afraid, the ballet that he was writing, and how it was going, and a little bit about it. And also some other plans he had, which I asked him about, and that was fine. And this went on until the audience had come in, you know, and filled up, the church was sort of filled up, and the performance was about to begin. And just before then, my friend brought out from down below him a copy of the autograph score of The Rite of Spring. Very impressive, the actual manuscript, and asked Stravinsky whether he could autograph it for him. And Stravinsky, he handed it over to Stravinsky, and Stravinsky examined it as though he hadn't seen it for a very long time, or it was all sort of new to him. And then he very willingly signed his name on it, which is a very nice thing. And he handed it back, and then there was some other conversation, and I wish I'd made a note at the time, you know, what we talked about, because it was quite a time, until the performance actually began, and then Stravinsky smiled very courteously and turned away. And it was, the performance began, but it was shortly after that he seemed to be having a little discomfort. I noticed I was immediately behind the back of his head, and he was sort of a little bit showing a little bit of movement in his sort of shoulders, he was a bit uncomfortable. And then I noticed him very surreptitiously turn off his hearing aid, wearing it, one down near his waist, because he didn't make any big show of it, but I just noticed him switch it off, and then he sort of relaxed. And so that was the end of our little conversation with Stravinsky. But it meant a lot to me, because he was such a great man, and ever since I was a small child, this name had been around, and I remember, you know, who is this man, Stravinsky, and of course then hearing his music ever since, and great ballets, and all his work. And so that's about all I can say at the moment.